Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's BDF44 coming at you with another video. Today, of course, is a media day for a lot of teams. Yesterday was as well for a bunch of teams. I think today's day 2 of media day, to be exact. I've seen some really good stuff out of my team personally. That's what I'm here to talk about, the LA Lakers. There's still more for me to see. In fact, the bigger names, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, I actually haven't heard those guys speak. But from the other guys, some of the ones that I have, I've taken some really good things. So like right now, for example, I was just listening to Kent Bazemore. I call him Kentucky Bazemore by habit. It's old Lakers stuff from when I was a kid. But when he was on this team before, called him Kentucky. I'm gonna call him that again. But Kent Bazemore was just basically saying that he was talking about how it feels so good for him to see Dwight, AD, and DeAndre Jordan kind of standing together taking a picture because he knows as a guard they're going to be back there. That's like 21 feet of center that you're going to have to shoot over it at 24/7 at all times. You're going to have one of those guys on the floor. And that made me want to get on here and just say, you know what, he's right. He's right. I've been on record saying that I didn't really like the DeAndre Jordan signing because if the Brooklyn Nets didn't want him, why should we? Just like Skip Bayless, that was my point too. But then I realized that the Brooklyn Nets let him go because of their salary situation. He was on a pretty bad contract. They needed to let go of that contract. It wasn't necessarily because they didn't want him. So then I had to readjust my thinking. Then I started looking around, at just, other teams and the length that they have. And I remember saying the same thing yesterday in my Cleveland video that basically Kent said today that, when you have the type of centers that both the Lakers and the Cleveland Cavaliers have, basically 21 feet of man down there, your guards don't have to be as safe with some of the things that they do both on defense and offense. They can take more chances. They can roam a little bit. They can be a little more lax in certain situations because they know they got a rim protector on the floor at all times. Both of those two teams, the Lakers and Cleveland, will have that dynamic available to their guards. DeAndre Jordan's value is higher than I said it was for us. I'm growing to understand the importance of having someone down there with his metrics. Even if he's not going to be the old DeAndre Jordan, if he can run the floor and stand vertical, that'll be more than enough because of his height and his standing reach. Literally will be more than enough. And he's going to do more than that. He looks pretty good. All of our centers look pretty good in practice. They look like they're in shape. They've been working. I like what I see out of our guys in terms of their conditioning. Everybody looks really good. AD put on some good weight, lost some bad weight, it seems to me. He looks like he's in better shape than he's been in probably like 4 years, to be honest. LeBron James slimmed down some. I wanted to see that his first 2 years with the Lakers, particularly his first year when he got hurt with the groin. I felt like he was too heavy. And he played clunky with us that first year. He looked older to me the first year than he did these last 2 years. So the better shape he gets in, the better we'll be. Him losing weight is fantastic. I always felt LeBron James was at his best when he was a slim version of himself because it allowed him to do more defensively, which is where he tends to take plays off. I felt like he wouldn't necessarily be inclined to take plays off or not exert himself as much defensively if his conditioning were more so cardio-based rather than power and lifting and things like that. At this stage in his career, as he gets older, plus as you get older, your knees become more fragile in theory, so you want to take less pressure off of them by losing weight. So guys who usually get older, you start getting into this stage in their careers, if they're expected to take on a large role, say like a Carmelo Anthony, a larger role-playing role this year, you expect them to come in slim, and those guys did. So I'm very happy that they took that route. Another highlight that I've seen from Media Day was Austin Reeves, man. Austin Reeves is going to be awesome. He's already a Laker fan favorite. And he has not one, but two awesome nicknames. Not one, but two. First of all, HBK. That's a thing. Hillbilly Kobe is going down. He coined it. I don't know if he coined the phrase or somebody else did, and he stamped it. I'm running with it. That's HBK, man. Hillbilly Kobe. We rolling. That's who he is. And he also wears number 15. So that means we get to call him AR-15. I really like that. I like AK-47. I love AR-15. So he's going to be AR-15, a.k.a. HBK, also known as Hillbilly Kobe. I'm on board. I'm rolling. All in. That's one of the best nicknames in the game, period. And I also like the guy. I like his game. I like what he's going to bring to the table. I like his basketball IQ, the way he approaches the game, the way he talks about his reverence for these players, but it's still being just basketball at the end of the day. It's all the right type of stuff. He's not coming off as somebody who's going to be under the lights and losing his mind. You know what I mean? Now, you still have to see a guy play, but ultimately he looks like a confident basketball player who's super fluid in terms of his style of play: pass, shoot, three-level score, plays some defense. He does everything. He's big enough to where you can play him multiple positions, preferably 1 and 2, maybe 3 in some small ball lineups. And because he's such a facilitative presence, he's not only going to make stuff happen for himself, but of course make other people better. So a guy with that much fluidity to his game and that much size at the point guard position is just a value in general at this point. And I like the idea that the Lakers got him for a very, very low price at this point. It's a low price, you know. He's at the back of the draft. You didn't even draft him. Spent what? Couple $1 million to get him. That he's going to outplay that 10 times over. Even from the back of the bench, he'll outplay that. So high floor for a guy like Austin Reeves, in my opinion. Very high floor. I love his game. I think he's going to fit right in. Of course, he'll have to put on some weight. Of course, he'll have to learn some things here and there. Take his time. But the fact that we pulled him up to the big leagues was a big W for me. Just seeing a player like that on the back of the bench, knowing that he can help facilitate, knowing that he's going to stretch the floor, that's ideal, man. Absolutely ideal. And I've also been hearing a lot of talks about the starting lineups that the Lakers are going to use. To me, the starting lineup it's also a fluid thing. It's about matchups. So, like, if we're talking about starting lineups, you do understand that that's literally going to change from game to game. So I just think that that's really a misleading conversation for a lot of people because it just literally does not matter who starts in a basketball game. In fact, it matters more so who finishes. So I've seen situations with guys like, for example, OKC back in the day with Andre Roberson. He started, but he only played like 7 minutes a game. He was the guy that they put out there initially to guard the best defensive player at the guard spots. And then they set him down and played their stars for the rest of the time out there. He didn't get the bulk of the minutes. Their sixth man was getting the bulk of the minutes. So I'd expect some of that to be the case. So on and so forth. At the end of the day, I just feel like right now, looking at my team, I'm just starting to grow in the understanding that a guy like, for example, Kent Bazemore should probably be considered our starter, our mainstay starter at the 2 or the 3 spot, depending on how we're shuffling that lineup. I like Austin Reeves, but he's not ready. I like Wayne Ellington, but he doesn't play defense to that level for me. Malik Monk, I like him as well, but he's going to have to prove he's not a liability defensively. We're going to have to learn before we're ready to trust him there. And I like THT, but I have to be honest and say I think THT is probably a 3. His length and his size, his skill set means he can play 1, 2, or 3. But I just feel better if he's playing a 3 for some reason. I don't know. Maybe it's just because of his size. I don't know. I got to give that some thought. But being that we already have issues in regards to trying to figure out what our 2 guard is, I just think the safest bet because of all of that is Kent Bazemore. I seen Trevor Ariza in the starting lineup. Too old, man. I'm sorry. I'm down with having Trev on this team, but I'm not going to pull punches. Because you know me, I'm a fantasy basketball player. I know when guys have production issues and when they're not relevant anymore. Trev hasn't been relevant like that in a while. We're going to have to respect that and let him play roles that represent that. Don't ask him to be Trev from 02 and give him a starting role and think he's going to run around like he was with Kobe. That's just not smart. At this stage in his career, that's not where he's at. Carmelo Anthony's always been great at the 3, but you prefer him at the 4. He's not a defensive guy, so you don't want to put non-defensive guys in your starting lineup. And that's really the issue, honestly. That is honestly the issue with our starting lineup situation. Our defensive guards are not defensive. our guards, our 2 guards to be exact, are not defensive players. They're all offensive players. And THT is a great defensive player when he develops, but he's not there yet. Not there yet. So the guy I trust the most in that situation is Kent Bazemore. So on and so forth. What else? Seeing some good things all the way around the league. Zion's conversation was interesting. Obviously, we know he has that stress fracture that he's healed up from what they said and had surgery on. They didn't tell nobody about, from what I'm gathering. Although I think I heard something about him having surgery, but they just kept it under wraps. But I think I actually heard something about that. I don't know. It's vague, but whatever the case, he did have surgery. He's ready to go. As I told everybody, he was going to show up for camp. All those rumors out there about him not being on board with the Pelicans and pulling up Ben Simmons, those were lies. I told you they were lies, so I'm glad that was proven. What else? Saw what was going on in Washington. Some long faces in Washington, man. I ain't going to sit up here and pull punches. Some guys look like they do not want to be there. I get it. Particularly the old Laker guys, to be exact. Spencer Dinwiddie looked happy. Bradley Beal looks happy. But Kuzma, he's playing along. Trez looked like he got hit by a truck. KCP looks like he's just kind of sitting in the dark somewhere. I don't know. Washington is a team, like I said, they're in a good space in terms of their long term, but it's going to be a couple years before they have something to really be happy about. And it's going to be a situation for those guys where they all get an opportunity to raise their value, and that should be their mentality. But of course, the best way to raise your value is to win and play cohesive basketball, not to jack up a bunch of shots and get your stats. So I think that what they have in place right now. They have enough balance in terms of shooting and size and energetic bigs and a superstar shooting guard to where, and Spencer Dinwiddie, who can do a lot of different things for you, and you really don't know how good he's going to be when he gets back. He could be as good as an all-star. Who knows? When you have that type of stuff going on, I think Washington probably should have more enthusiasm about what it is that they can do from a game-to-game basis than maybe you'll see in their faces in these pictures. I wouldn't feel so bad if I'm Kyle Kuzma about being in Washington. Yes, does it suck that you're not a Laker playing for championships? Of course. But you're going to get 12 shots a game. You're going to have opportunities to start and stay on the floor. You're going to have opportunities to be on a team that's just better fit for what it is that you are. I love the situation for him specifically. Love it for Spencer, too. Spencer gets to come back from injury and immediately pick up where he left off in the role that he was hoping to get at the starting point guard position. And see, that was what it was about with Brooklyn. He was always good enough to start. He just couldn't start with that team because they either had a D'Angelo Russell or what have you. It was always somebody there in Brooklyn keeping him from having that starting spot. Sort of like Terry Rozier in Boston. It just, no matter what, he couldn't jump up. But he was always good enough to, and you knew it. In Washington, he's going to get that opportunity. Trez, same thing. Trez left some money on the table for the Lakers. They didn't dish him off, didn't use him correctly. I think it was one of the worst situations, and he was able to find himself in a situation now where, even though he's playing with some other energetic bigs, 2 out of 3 of them are coming back from injury. So at the start of the season, he's going to have a chance to put his stamp on the Washington Wizards, and I think it's going to be a mighty one. I really do. He's going to come out the gate looking to rekindle the fire from his previous year before coming to the Lakers, which was Sixth Man of the Year. So I'm a believer in Trez and his ability to rebound, dunk the ball, and create a lot of energy. I'm super high on him to this very second. I haven't lost any faith. I just felt like we didn't use him right, and that's all that is. So I'm excited for his tenure with the Washington Wizards. So there's just a lot of stuff going on, man. Patrick Williams going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks with a bad ankle sprain. That was a huge loss for the Chicago Bulls because they were hoping to have their full spectrum of players. This looks like a contending year for the Chicago Bulls. Even though a lot of people say, not so much, I don't know. I have to break down their roster. I have yet to do that in my series. There's still one of the teams left, but from afar, I love what they've put together. I'm a Zoe guy. I like Zach LaVine. I like Vucevic. Their whole team is full of guys that I like a lot. Kobe White in this role is going to be fantastic, in my opinion. You haven't seen good Kobe White until you see him in a role where he doesn't have to be a facilitator. This is about to be good for him. And as far as everything else, man, I look around the league. I say, look, man, let's get going. I got about, like I said, 7 teams, I think, or something like that left on my series, and we'll be all caught up on the whole league. And what? We're looking at training camp next week, I think. Media Day's obviously now. So much to be excited about. And, of course, Ben Simmons, John Wall. Those guys are still out there, possibly to be traded for one another, possibly elsewhere. Look at a guy like Andrew Wiggins. Now you're looking at his contract. Maybe he's going to move because of the situation. Kyrie Irving. Now you got to consider if Brooklyn will defy KD and trade him anyway because they may think of whatever should be done. Honestly, it's going to be a lot to talk about over the next several weeks. I can tell you that. And I'm going to be right here. So thank y'all for watching. My name is BDL44. That's what I got for you.